Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today, let's talk Who Is It? My prediction for who Negan killed. Before we get into the predictions, I'm going to keep this quick, but before we get into them, I just had to put on my Indy Mini Money Mo shirt. You can get this at shop.thewalkingdead.com. I don't get paid to say that. I genuinely love this shirt, and everyone asks me usually anyway. So, link will be in the description. If I forget, shop.thewalkingdead.com. Next thing, I don't use spoilers. Not at all. Not even what actors are coming and going from set. I don't use any of that. And if you're new here, thanks, but no thanks. I love doing the predictions. The last thing, I'm also not using anything from episode 16. And before you say, whoa, how the hell can you make a prediction of a death when you're not even using the lead up to that death? Well, very simple. I made a video a little while back talking about how the style of filmmaking was impressionistic. Even Scott Gimple admitted on The Talking Dead that it was a bit impressionistic. Now you can watch that video. I'm going to leave a link, or in the card, the little eye up here, I'm going to leave a link to clearly explain in detail what that means. But basically it means that the rocks by Glenn's leg, the lighting from the cars, the shade from the tree, the Indy Mini Money Mo, whose bat is in front of who, how he's saying it, none of it matters. None of it matters, because when something's impressionistic, it is giving you the feel or the experience of what's happening, but it's not accurately showing you or telling you what's happening. Meaning, it's giving us the feel of everyone on their knees and one person about to have the holy hell beat out of them, but it's not accurately showing us how it unfolds. So with that, I'm not using anything. I don't believe in the point of view theory. I don't believe that there are any clues in it. I believe afterwards we might find one or two things we could put together and be like, oh, okay, it was him because of this. But I think that doesn't have substance at this time. So I'm going to move on without it. And I'm going to use the story. To be honest, the story of each character, just briefly. There's a lot more to this, each character's story, but I'm going to run down just a really quick list. Starting with Rick. He's the leader, there's no chance in hell. Not because he's generically the leader, but because he is somewhat the glue right now in the story. Rick being the glue that is holding this foundation of the story together at this moment, it would negatively hurt the story if you killed him off. Next up is Carl Grimes. And I know this is a simple explanation that is stupid, but I truly believe Rick Grimes would risk his life if Carl was chosen. So I do not believe it would end well if he was chosen. Moving on next to Michonne. Now here's the thing. Michonne just got this relationship with Rick Grimes. And I do believe they're building something with this relationship between Rick and Michonne. Because of that, Michonne does have a lot more coming story-wise. And another thing they need to be careful with is repeating story elements. Like, for example, Rick loses Lori. He loses someone that he's attached to intimately. Next, Jesse. Even though it was quick, he got attached to her, he lost her intimately. Now, it's powerful when it happens, but if you keep getting repetitive with it, it now becomes a joke. It's a meme, So you risk the possibility of turning this into a joke. So now you're taking something serious like Michonne, a beloved character. Her dying now, adding to that repetition, might actually make her death kind of like a joke. Rick can't, and that joke will come out. Rick can't have anything nice. And it does turn into a joke. There's no way around that. Plus, Michonne, and this is the most important, she has a lot more story coming. Next on the list would have to be Rosita, and I know this is going to sound mean, but unfortunately her dying just simply does not do enough for the story. It doesn't at all. Next would be Sasha. Now here's the important thing with Sasha. They did a lot with her character, and they did a lot of remixing, giving her some elements of comic Andrea, and that's the sniper elements. But we've seen the tower falling, and in the comic Andrea used that tower very successfully to help fight off later on Negan. With that tower gone, it seems like Sasha in that sniper aspect is losing some of that storyline, or they could do something totally different. They can build a new guard tower. I believe they said they were building something like that, But when you look at Sasha and her relationship with Abe, it feels premature to end it now. What? They had some conversations, in an episode or two, they had some conversation, and then in the van, Abe brings up this whole thing about kids. It feels too thin for that to be put in there just to tug at our emotions. It's too weak, and I don't believe it's going to happen. I don't believe there's enough there. I don't believe it should happen. I believe Sasha, again, is a bad choice story-wise to take this death. Now, next up is my runner-up, Abraham. Here's the problem, though. I get it. It connects. When Negan puts the bat in front of Abraham, Abraham gives him this attitude, this bravado. He stands up to the bat. He's like, if that's my fate, bring it, you punk bitch. You know, Abraham ain't playing games. But here's the thing. That connects very well to Negan saying, taking it like a champ, da-da-da-da-da. The only problem I have with that, taking it like a champ, is in the comic. That is going to be said no matter what, because they're adapting this comic scene very faithfully from the comic. So with that said, I think it could be anybody, and Negan's going to say you're taking it like a champ. But again, it does fit with Abraham being strong enough to take it if they decided, well, you know what? Negan says this in the comic, and Abe is strong enough to do that. Let's put Abe in there, plus it's good for the story. That's why he's my runner-up. I see some of it. The main reason I do not believe it's Abraham, though, and I know this is pretty weak, but I'm sticking with it. I have to be honest with you guys and myself. It's bothering me. When I think about Abraham getting this death, this one thing bothers me, and that's Robert Kirkman talking about how in the comic, Abraham got shot in the eye by Dwight, and in the show, Denise got this death. Now, way before this all happens on the show, Kirkman talked about Abraham fulfilling some of comic Abraham's all-out war storyline and how it's going to be exciting to get to those moments. Now, if you just take Abraham 2 episodes before the Negan kill, and he survives that, does nothing but drive an RV, and then dies, to me, that is madness. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It doesn't fit the story. It leaves, Sasha and Rosita in this really weird place that does not feel authentic like in the comic. Even though the comic was impulsive, the relationship between Rosita and Holly afterwards actually felt authentic. That was probably one of the better things to come out of that death that I didn't like in the comic. Sasha and Rosita, however, that just feels like it's clustered and it's a mess if Abraham dies right now. I do not believe this is right for the story. So moving on, next we have Eugene. Simply put, I'm going to say that his little stunt with giving the recipe to making ammunition to Rick and then saying that Abraham knows where this is and giving that hug to Abraham, this whole thing was set up too damn predictable. If Eugene dies, this was a horrible way to set it up. It's like, okay, my character has one main purpose right now, which is to make the bullets. Let me just, write down this complicated formula, I'm guessing, on a piece of paper and then give it away. It's too easy. It's too wrapped in a bow. And I think it is pretty weak writing if Eugene's the one who dies, to just brush it off like, oh, I could just pass a piece of paper and my comic storyline is fulfilled now. You know what I mean? So because of that, I think Eugene survives. Next, moving on to Daryl, another simply put, I made a previous video where I do believe that Dwight and Daryl are building a connection at the end of Season 6. Now, it's not a good one all the time, but I do believe there's enough there to get Daryl to really see what's going on with Dwight and see that Dwight was also on his knees in between a rock and instant death. And he made a choice, and he had to kill for that choice later on. In the eye up here, I'm going to try to leave a link to a whole playlist for Season 7 where you can find the Daryl and Dwight video. I do, now thinking about it, I do believe I made 2 of them. Check those out. Click this eye, it'll drop down. Moving on from Daryl, let's talk about Maggie. Simply put, again, I believe there's too much setup for Maggie and the Hilltop. Without going into specifics, there's too damn much to lose her now. Not only that, this whole stunt with killing the doctor, Denise, the doctor from Alexandria, killing her off and then getting this pregnant woman to the Hilltop, that's the whole main purpose for them being on the road when Negan catches them. I don't believe they'll just shut that whole storyline down by having Maggie take that death. So I do believe that Maggie will primarily go to the Hilltop because they have a doctor there and she needs it for the complications for her pregnancy for right now. That I do believe they will skim over. I don't think it's going to be a big complication. I think it'll be something like nutritions or the baby's bound up or something simple they can just hurdle over. I'm talking about her getting a fever and everything. Now moving on to Glenn. I do not believe it's Glenn at all. And I do believe that Glenn will most likely go to Hilltop with her because of the doctor. Now, they might have to bounce around because of certain things going on, but for now, I think it's best for Glenn and Maggie to stay at the Hilltop. And I know a lot of people are saying that Glenn is filming a movie in South Korea or something like that. That's fine if Glenn goes to the Hilltop in the first episode, even the second episode. Once they get to the Hilltop so Maggie can get treated, they can stay there. What happened with Jesus in season 6 when he went to the Hilltop after attacking one of the outposts? We didn't see him again. Same thing can happen with Glenn, giving him the opportunity to film in South Korea. Now, if Glenn got a heads up from the writers and producers letting him know that he wasn't getting a lot of screen time in the beginning because he'd be at the Hilltop, chances are he would schedule in some movies or some work in that time. So it fits too nice. I'm not worried about Glenn. And that leads me to my pick for who Negan kills, and I'm going to have to go with Aaron. And that choice surprised me also, but I will have to say, what swayed me the most is how closely comic Glenn shines through in TV Aaron. And that's not, how he looks or young age or what. It's how compassionate he was, how loyal he was, what a nice person he is. Aaron is a nice person. Even though he made the decision to go attack and kill the saviors, he did so protecting the people he loved in that community against another possible attack similar to the wolves. The wolves just recently attacked. It was brutal, it was vicious, it was uncalled for, and Aaron was being eaten away by guilt. So obviously he said, it's not happening again, and made the choice to put his life on the line, fighting for the people he loved, attacking the saviors in a preemptive strike. Now you also have a person who is the one that found the group. He essentially saved the lives of every single person in that group. He's the one who gave them water when they were thirsty. He's the one who gave them food when they were starving. And he's the one who brought them to Alexandria and not only put a roof over their head, but he gave them a home, an actual home where they can start to rebuild a family, rebuild civilization, rebuild a community right here. And it's all because Aaron brought them here. So with that being said, and how traumatic that would be, that idea resting on all the survivors' minds, the man that brought them here is the man that was beat to death in front of them, a compassionate, a sweetheart. I mean, his loyalty to Maggie alone, in my opinion, would definitely shape her view of Negan and what happened. In the comic, Maggie hates Negan because he beat the head in of the man she loved. You know what I mean? The father of her unborn child. That was her husband, the love of her life. In the show, it can be a person she felt a connection with, that the show, and this is very genius if they do this, because it goes back to Glenn's fake out death, which touches back to the comic. It kind of goes full circle in a genius, gorgeous way. Think about it with Glenn's fake out death. It puts the audience in the shoes of Maggie and Aaron with not really knowing. And then they're in the sewer. They have this beautiful dialogue back and forth that doesn't fully emotionally latch onto us, affect us in that way until we come full circle and see him getting killed by Negan. So now you can see the connection that Aaron and Maggie make. Even though it was brief, it was still strong. And then afterwards, in the RV, when Aaron says he's doing this for her, it will come full circle in a way where when TV Maggie is eventually possibly leading the Hilltop or helping assist in leading the Hilltop, she's still going to have that same anger, similar rage, and similar disgust for Negan for killing somebody she grew close to, which is Aaron. Those are my thoughts and opinions on this. This was a very hard prediction to make because obviously they can look at this story-wise 2 seasons ahead because they know the changes they're going to make. They could kill Michonne, you know, if they knew what they were going to do after that and this, that, and the third. They could make it Eugene, even though that would be incredibly underwhelming. It could be Rosita, you know. It could be Daryl. But these are my reasons, my opinions, why they aren't choosing some characters and why they are choosing others. Mainly Aaron and Abe, which is my runner-up, which I will be really pissed if it's Abe. I'll understand the connection, but I'll be pissed because I think it leaves Sasha and Rosita's storylines hanging and in kind of a jumbled mess. I think it's a weak connection to have them talk to build or to make a stronger connection just before they have him die, and it's all around a mess with Abe. I think it's all around, but it connects because of how strong he is. I see where they're going there if it is Abe. Again, though, with Aaron, story-wise, I think it just fits beautifully. You know, Aaron isn't as an emotional choice off the top of our heads, but to be honest, Glenn wasn't either until he died. I didn't go into issue 100 thinking, man, if Glenn died, my world would be rocked, you know, at the moment. It was sad and tragic because we saw someone who's a sweetheart, innocent, get their head bashed in. And I say innocent, you know, in this world. You know, there's an innocence even though they kill. But there's an innocence there. There's a loyalty there. There's an honor there. There's a sweetness there. And I think that shines through with TV Aaron as well. Anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. I'm finally going to end this. Let me know what you think down in that comment box. And please, no spoilers. I'm good. If every single one of these characters are filming right now and you know, leave it out of it. I'm good. We're doing this for fun. No spoilers. I really appreciate it. Thoughts and opinions in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.